Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Cosmic Spotlight, here with me, Evan Comics of the Comic Book Fiend Club East Chapter. I have another very special episode for you all today, one that I'm actually submitting as a midterm assignment for my college course, Graphic Narratives. The assignment is to define what a masterpiece is, explain what we think qualifies something as one, and then select a particular work and go more in depth on those qualifications. Thus, the midterm assignment is called the Masterpiece Project. We were given a prescribed list of different graphic narratives and graphic novels that we could choose from, but I was able to make a case to my professor on to do my assignment on this particular work, and that is A Contract with God by the legendary Will Eisner. The reason I am not adhering to the prescribed reading list for this is because I believe that A Contract with God is an essential work of art that contributed to the validity of studying graphic narratives in the classroom setting. Its writer, Will Eisner, revolutionized comic strips with the spirit and showed us how truly cinematic the combination of words and art can be. He had a deep yearning to explore the medium at an even greater intellectual level in a time when openly discussing comics as an art form was a gross presumption worthy only of ridicule. His determination gave us A Contract with God while simultaneously coining the phrase sequential art. Studying this graphic narrative in particular is critical to understanding the medium, in my opinion. It's 4 short stories based on some of Will's actual childhood memories growing up in a Jewish community in New York City make it all that much more interesting to jump into the life and mind of a man who revolutionized visual storytelling. A Contract with God was originally published in 1978 and since then has been republished at least 4 times, and it also contains a lot of adult themes in it as well. Before I go any further though, the Merriam-Webster definition of masterpiece is a work done with skill or supreme intellect and artistic achievement. The things that come to my mind when I think about what qualifies something as a masterpiece includes its innovation, its one-of-a-kindness, and also its universal appeal. Let's keep all of these things in mind as I offer you guys a brief synopsis. Here we go. The first story opens with Mr. Hirsch, a single old man who had mourned the loss of his daughter, launching his relentless anger towards God, as God supposedly violated their contract that Mr. Hirsch had composed as a young child and had abided by his whole life. Early in the book, Mr. Hirsch perishes tragically from a heart attack, and the perspective is switched to a street singer of the name of Ronald Berry, who is in search of money and fame to support his family during the Great Depression. Despite his golden voice and vast efforts, Ronald Berry's attempts for fame were in vain because he is forced to carry out his same monstrous life of singing in the alleys for change anyone had to spare. The story is then told through the life of a super, who is in charge of the tenement on Dropsy Avenue and is hated by everyone who lives there as he is a sex maniac and has to collect their money. The super later commits suicide as he is publicly embarrassed for a very embarrassing interaction he has with a young 12-year-old girl. The story then goes on to be narrated by a bunch of different families and their numerous experiences on a vacation at the Kukulane and their endless struggles and experiences from the Great Depression era. A Contract with God is innovative because up until its creation, comic books and graphic narratives were never really considered to have any kind of literary merit at all. Not only that, but its anthology format made for a very unique chronicle that we really hadn't seen before, at least not at that length or intellectual level. It definitely has universal appeal because of its adult themes and how those themes allowed for a much more intense reading experience, moving away from the traditional 2-dimensional comic book pulp characters that Will Eisner had been working on for so long, especially with The Spirit. It certainly is a one-of-a-kind artistic achievement as well because of the use of text in combination with the terrain. This allowed for the creation of a really gripping setting and essentially the creation of like a cinematic exposure. This presence made for a very unique reader experience, allowing me to feel like as if I was actually there when I was reading the novel. Another part of this assignment is to select 2 pages, panels, or spreads that we think are offered as good examples as to why this is a masterpiece. The first one actually is the opening panel for the first story in this novel. After reading and analyzing it, you quickly realize you are not holding your standard graphic novel. Let's check it out. It shows rain dripping down off of the text that describes the scene with corresponding font that sets the mood. It truly created a bleak Bronx, New York setting that was very gripping and pulled me right in. My second example comes from the conclusion of the second story, where Eisner illustrates the same scene twice, once over time, and once in a snapshot with the larger setting. It allows for a very amazing perspective. That concludes my masterpiece project and in turn this episode of Cosmic Spotlight. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Before I go though, I would very much love to encourage everyone in the comic book community to seek other graphic novels or other books where sequential art is the main tool. Really expand your horizons. There are a lot of amazing things out there that I wouldn't have read if it wasn't for this class. You definitely will find a lot of beautiful, powerful, and meaningful stories. And with that being said, see my description for my work cited, and I hope you all have an amazing afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you may be in the entire world. Remember to collect what you love. Take care, guys.